So I'm going to need everyone to sit down for this one. I don't care if you're watching this on your phone while you're walking. Stop walking. I don't care if you're watching this in the gym between sets. Put the weights down. I don't care if you're watching this at work pretending to be productive. Close the spreadsheet. Because what I'm about to tell you, what I watched happen on First Take this morning with my own eyes, is going to fundamentally change the way you think about the Golden State Warriors and their future. And I'm not being hyperbolic, I'm not trying to get clicks, I'm not exaggerating for the sake of a YouTube thumbnail. What happened this morning on live television was the most extraordinary display of conviction and insider knowledge that I have ever witnessed from any sports analyst in history. Shannon Sharpe bet his career, his entire career, everything he's built since he retired from playing football, all of it, on one prediction. And that prediction was that Chet Holmgren is going to be a Golden State Warrior before the end of this week. Hey, what's up everyone? Real quick before we get into everything, that like button is literally what determines if this reaches hundreds or thousands of fans. Takes 1 second but makes a huge impact on the channel's growth. Just smash that like button right now. It's the easiest thing you can do, but honestly the biggest way to support this content. Every single like pushes this further, so hit it now. I need you to understand the gravity of what I just said. Shannon Sharpe, a Hall of Fame tight end turned Hall of Fame broadcaster, a man who has been on television for more than 20 years, a man who has built one of the most successful media careers in the history of sports broadcasting, looked into a camera on live television and told millions of people that he would resign from his job if this prediction doesn't come true. That has never happened before. Not on First Take, not on Undisputed, not on any sports show anywhere. Nobody has ever done that, and the fact that Shannon chose this specific prediction, Chet Holmgren to the Warriors, as the hill he's willing to die on, tells you everything you need to know about the quality of the information he has. Let me tell you how it went down, because the context makes it even more incredible. The show was talking about the Warriors and their upcoming play-in game against Portland. They were discussing Steph Curry's return from injury, how good he looked in his first game back, and whether the Warriors have any realistic chance of making it past the play-in and into the actual playoffs. And one of the producers put up a graphic showing the Warriors roster and their biggest weaknesses. And right there on the screen, highlighted in red, was the center position, because the Warriors' center situation right now is a patchwork of hope and prayer. Porzingis just had his worst game as a Warrior, getting demolished by Alperen Sengun. Al Horford has been dealing with a calf injury. They just signed Charles Bassey from the G League and he looked promising, but he's got a concerning injury history. And beyond those guys, there's not much. The Warriors need a center. That's not controversial. That's not a hot take. That's a fact. But what Shannon did next turned a routine roster discussion into the most memorable moment in First Take history. He stood up from his seat. He didn't just lean forward. He stood up and he walked around the desk to the camera that faces the main set. And he stood right in front of it, close enough that you could see every line on his face. And he said, "I'm about to do something I've never done before. And I want every Warriors fan watching right now to hear me clearly. Chet Holmgren will be a Golden State Warrior before this week is over. And if I'm wrong about this, I will hand in my resignation letter to ESPN tomorrow morning, because the people who told me this are people who have never lied to me, and I refuse to sit here and act like I don't know what I know." Stephen A. looked like he was watching someone walk a tightrope over the Grand Canyon. His face was a mixture of shock, concern, and genuine confusion. He said, "Shannon, brother, I love you, but you need to be very careful about what you're doing right now. You are putting everything on the line." And Shannon, still standing in front of the camera, said, "I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm doing it because I believe in my sources more than I believe in anything else in this business." And then he sat back down and started making his case, and what followed was the most comprehensive breakdown of a potential trade I've ever heard on a television show. He started with the basketball fit, and the first thing he said made me involuntarily say, "Oh my God," out loud in my living room. He said the Golden State Warriors' entire system is built on one simple principle, which is creating advantages through spacing, movement, and basketball intelligence. Everything the Warriors do, every play they run, every set they call, every motion concept they execute is designed to create an open shot or an easy basket through collective intelligence and selflessness. And he said when you look at Chet Holmgren's skill set, when you evaluate what he does on a basketball court, he is perhaps the most perfect fit for the Warriors system of any center who has ever played in the NBA. And he wasn't saying that to be dramatic. He was saying it because it's objectively true. He said, think about what Chet brings. He's 7 feet tall with a 7'6" wingspan. He can protect the rim at an elite level, blocking nearly 3 shots per game throughout his career. That alone makes him incredibly valuable. But what makes him unique, what makes him a once-in-a-generation fit for the Warriors, is that he can do all of that defensive work while also spacing the floor on offense. He shoots threes. He shoots them at a high level for a 7-footer. He can step out to the 3-point line and knock down open looks, which means the opposing center can't just camp in the paint and clog the lane. The opposing center has to come out to the perimeter to guard Chet, and when that happens, the entire paint opens up. Driving lanes appear, cutting lanes appear. The pick and roll becomes twice as effective because the roll man has a clear path to the basket. Everything the Warriors do offensively becomes easier when there's a 7-footer on the perimeter commanding defensive attention. And then he connected this specifically to Steph Curry, and this is where I could feel the excitement building in the studio because even Stephen A was starting to see it. Shannon said Steph Curry has spent his entire career being doubled and tripled and trapped off ball screens because defenses know that the most dangerous thing in basketball is Steph Curry with an open look from 3. So they send help, they cheat off their man, they leave the weak side to come help on Steph, and when that help comes, the ball goes to the big man. And historically, the Warriors' big men have been Draymond Green, who can't shoot from outside, or various other centers who also can't shoot from outside. So the defense helps off the big man to trap Steph. The ball goes to the big man, and the big man either has to pass it again or try to score at the rim, which gives the defense time to recover. But with Chet, when the defense helps off Chet to trap Steph, the ball goes to a 7-footer standing at the 3-point line who can bury the 3 in their face. Suddenly, helping on Steph becomes a losing proposition. You help on Steph, Chet drills a 3. You stay home on Chet, Steph drills a 3. There's no right answer. It's a defensive nightmare. And Shannon said that's why the Warriors want this so badly. Because Chet Holmgren with Steph Curry is the most dangerous offensive combination in the NBA. Not one of the most dangerous, the most dangerous. And then Shannon brought up the defensive side, which he said is actually the part that the Warriors coaching staff is most excited about. He said the Warriors' biggest defensive problem all season has been the lack of a true rim protector who can also switch onto guards in pick and roll situations. They've been playing small ball lineups with 4 guards because they don't have a center who can keep up with the pace of the modern game. And when you play 4 guards, your defense is inherently limited because you don't have anyone who can challenge shots at the rim. But Chet changes that equation entirely because he's maybe the only center in the NBA who can block shots at the rim and switch onto guards on the perimeter and not be a liability in either situation. His combination of length, mobility, and basketball IQ means you can put him in any defensive scheme and he'll figure it out. You can have him drop in pick and roll coverage and he'll contest the shot at the rim. You can have him switch onto the guard and he'll stay in front of him with his lateral quickness. You can have him play free safety and roam the lane as a help defender. The versatility is unreal. And for a Warriors team that has been struggling defensively all season because of their lack of size and rim protection, Chet is the solution to every single one of those problems. Then came the insider information, and this is where my hands started shaking because I could tell Shannon was about to reveal something that would change everything. He said he has been in communication with people close to the Warriors organization for the past several days. He said the Warriors have been actively pursuing Chet Holmgren and that the conversations have progressed to the point where both sides believe a deal can be completed this week. He said the Warriors front office views Chet as the missing piece that completes their roster for the play-in and beyond, and that they also view him as the foundational player for the post-Steph era. He said Joe Lacob, the Warriors owner, has been personally involved in the discussions and has made it clear that he is willing to do whatever it takes to make this happen. And he said Steve Kerr has spoken directly with Chet's representatives about the role he envisions for him in the Warriors system, and that the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. Stephen A was pacing behind the desk at this point. He was doing that thing he does when he's processing something enormous and trying to figure out how to respond. And finally he said, Shannon, if what you're describing is accurate, this changes the entire NBA. A Warriors team with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Chet Holmgren is a championship contender. Immediately. Not next year, not in 2 years. Right now. And Shannon said, that's exactly right, and that's exactly why I'm willing to bet my career on it, because the Warriors know it. The league knows it. And by the end of this week, everybody watching at home is going to know it too. Now let me give you my analysis because I've been thinking about this non-stop. Everything Shannon said about the basketball fit is accurate. The Warriors system is built for a player like Chet Holmgren. The spacing he provides on offense is exactly what Steph needs. The rim protection he provides on defense is exactly what the Warriors have been missing all season. The ability to switch defensively and guard multiple positions is exactly what Steve Kerr's scheme demands, and the long-term upside of having a 22-year-old franchise cornerstone is exactly what the Warriors need as they plan for the transition from the Steph Curry era to whatever comes next. Every single aspect of this potential move checks out from a basketball perspective, and think about the specific lineups the Warriors could run with Chet. Steph, a wing player, Draymond, Chet, and whoever else you want at the 2 or 3 spot. That's a lineup with elite shooting from Steph and Chet, elite defense from Draymond and Chet, elite playmaking from Steph and Draymond, and elite rim protection from Chet. That's a lineup that can compete with any team in the NBA. That's a lineup that makes the Warriors a legitimate championship contender again. And with the play-in against Portland coming up, a game where the Warriors desperately need someone who can match Portland's athleticism and size, having Chet available could be the difference between the Warriors season ending and the Warriors making a deep playoff run. I also want to address the transitional aspect because I think it's the most important long-term consideration. The Warriors are at a crossroads. Steph is still playing at an elite level, but he's in his late 30s. Draymond is still the defensive quarterback, but his physical abilities are declining. The dynasty era is ending, and the question is whether the Warriors can transition from one era to the next without going through a full rebuild. Chet Holmgren is the answer to that question. He's young enough to be the centerpiece of the next era. He's talented enough to contribute to the current era, and he's versatile enough to fit into any roster construction the Warriors want to build around him. This isn't just a basketball move, this is a franchise-saving move. Shannon closed his argument with something that gave me chills. He said, "The Golden State Warriors dynasty was built on innovation, on doing things differently than anyone else in the league, on finding players who fit their system and unlocking their potential in ways that nobody else could." And Chet Holmgren is the next chapter of that story. He's the player who bridges the gap between the dynasty that was and the dynasty that can be. And the Warriors know it. That's why this deal is happening. That's why I'm willing to bet everything on it. Dub Nation, if Shannon Sharpe is right, and the man literally staked his career on this, Chet Holmgren is about to be a Warrior. And when that happens, the NBA is going to have to deal with a Warriors team that has the most versatile frontcourt in basketball, the greatest shooter of all time, and a defensive anchor that can protect the rim and switch onto anyone on the floor. That's terrifying for every other team in the league. Subscribe, comment, and stay locked in because this could change everything. Let's go Dubs!